Hi everyone, my name is Chuku Owajidike, and in this webinar, I'm going to be talking about how to navigate imposter syndrome while working in tech. By tech, I refer to any field at all that is within the technology ecosystem, from programmer to project manager to UX UI designer. As long as you're in the ecosystem, this webinar is for you. Now, let's talk about what imposter syndrome means. Imposter syndrome is a concept where you feel like you don't belong. Now, it comes with like this very loud sound that, oh, you're a fraud. If people really knew the extent at which you don't know what you're talking about, they would hate you, or your employer would pay you because you feel like, oh, I'm not there. So you walk towards the point where you put yourself in a box and you don't let yourself shine. I think this is something that is very dear to me because it's something I've experienced a lot of times, and it's something that I am overcoming. Right. So imposter syndrome is a common yet often silent struggle in the tech industry. It's like a hidden obstacle course that many of us face as we navigate our careers. In this presentation, we will explore this pervasive issue and discover strategies to overcome it. Now, we'll have to unravel the complexities of imposter syndrome, and we'll look at how we can empower ourselves to thrive as tech professionals. So, what is imposter syndrome? It is a psychological phenomenon characterized by persistent feeling of self-doubt and inadequacies, even in situations where there is clear evidence of one's competence and accomplishments. Individuals experiencing imposter syndrome often believe that they are undeserving of their success, and they have fooled others into thinking they are more skilled or capable than they truly are. This is so funny because I have talked to a lot of developers, a lot of tech professionals who have told me I'm not that good. And I myself have, in my last job, I've dealt with this a lot where I constantly told myself that um, I can't handle the tax. Meanwhile, I have a full folder of projects that had accomplished similar outcomes to what I was hoping to achieve in the past. Just that the tax I was handling came with like a higher level of difficulty. At that moment, it rendered every past experience I had to nothing because I felt okay, if I cannot do this, then I would be feeling in public and it would be embarrassing. So, imposter syndrome is often psychological. As soon as you deal with having to overcome the fact that you don't feel good enough, uh, it's just like 80% of the work done when you tell yourself that it's all a lie. So yes, that's what imposter syndrome is. So now how does it show up while working in tech? It shows up in the following ways: constant self-doubt, fear of failure, overworking, perfectionism, comparing to others, avoiding opportunities, over emphasizing on learning, imposter syndrome in learning in leadership roles, sorry, feeling like an outsider, and imposter syndrome in diversity and inclusion. Now you constantly doubt yourself. You don't put your best because you're like you're not sure you can do it, and that's because you have an insatiable fear of failure. So no matter how many wins you have in the past, you're always going to feel like, oh, well, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do this well. Then to make up for um, your fear of failing, it leads you to always overworking. By 12 midnight, you're in front of your laptop. This is normal because we're living in a time where people want to brag about how many hours they've worked. Or let me not say it's normal. This has become like the new normal, which is abnormal because everybody wants to show that, oh, by 12 o'clock, I'm still working, or by I worked through all the night. It's supposed to be like a badge of honor. What many people don't realize is that you're overworking to compensate your fear of failure. And if you notice a perpetual need to stay up or to overwork yourself beyond working hours, it may not necessarily mean that you have imposter syndrome. It may not necessarily mean that, okay, you don't feel good enough, because some people tend to overwork because they enjoy what they do and they just like to continue studying when they get home. But if you notice that your reason for overworking is bent, or it's built upon the fact that you just don't want to fail more than usual, then you may be having imposter syndrome because you want to be perfect. You constantly compare yourself with other people. And now this is another one I'm talking about, avoiding opportunities. Because of imposter syndrome, many people will not want to take on new roles in the workplace or apply for new jobs because they're like, I can't do it. So yes, then you overemphasize on learning. You just have to stop learning at some point because you're not necessarily learning. As I said, some people just like to learn and do their job and all of that, but sometimes it could be a symptom of imposter syndrome when you're always feeling like an outsider. No matter what you do, you always feel like you're the odd one out, and it probably shows up more in people of diversity. Um, Maybe you are a black person in a room of white people, or you are Hispanic in a room of, let's say, predominantly white people too, or predominantly black people. Um, Imposter syndrome tends to show up more often than not in cases like this. So now, what are the unique challenges in the tech sector that contributes to imposter syndrome? Now, the major one is the challenging job market, especially for junior level tech professionals. Now, if we go back where I talked about how you avoid opportunities, let's say I want to get a job, and I'm speaking out of personal experience here because I like to be very honest with people. So I want to get a job, and I see a lot of um, opportunities out there, and I know within myself that I'm qualified, but I'm like, oh no, I'm not just ready. I close all the tabs. Let me continue learning for like the next 3 months, and then I'll go back to applying for those jobs, or if they're still there anyway. And if they're not there, I'll look for like similar jobs. But I think it comes down to the fact that there is a lot of fear, and the fact that you look at, as I said, it's out of personal experience. I look at over 300 people applying for a tech role as a Python developer. I look at a Python developer job posting that has over 300 people applying, and I'm like, there is no way I'm better than the 300 people who have already applied. So rather than apply, I try to like stay away and keep my struggles to myself. And let's say I eventually do get a job. Now, my fear of going back to the job market to look for a job, and maybe I'm not happy with my job, or I just become complacent where I don't want to do too much, I don't want to do too little, I just want to be somewhere, I just want to be safe, right? I just don't want to do anything that I would fail and then they will have to fire me. And you know it just comes down to the fact that there's if I had the illusion that if there was any job I wanted out there, I can get it, I think I'll be more willing to take risk. And that's what happens in the community, where people don't want to take so much risk, because if you mess up, that could be it. The next time you could get another job would most likely be like in 3 months and all. And the market, although getting a job in tech is not necessarily saturated, because while they are professionals, there will always be jobs, right? But there's the illusion that if one is gone, you may not necessarily get another one. So these perceptions usually lead to the high level of imposter syndrome in the system. So yes, this is my own opinion, but you're free to let me know in the comment section if you feel otherwise. What other reason do you think could be the reason why a lot of tech professionals experience imposter syndrome? Now, let's go to how to fix imposter syndrome, because this is something that at this point, if you're watching this, you probably in one way or the other feel like, oh, you're not good enough or you don't fit in the room. So let's look at how to fix this syndrome. You have to you have to consider showing working. You have to consider being more vocal about what you can do. Someone recommended that you make a folder in your computer where you put everything that reminds you of your accomplishments. That's one thing to do, because imposter syndrome is more or less a psychological thing. It's not something that is outrightly physical. To say, oh, okay, I have a pain in my hand. Let me rub a balm. No, it's something of the mind. So you have to remind yourself that you've done this in the past. Have a record. Have what you can go back to and say, okay, this is my reference point of what I can do, and it would help me go further. The next thing to do is to have that same record, but for other people. Show working, show proof. Because if you're able to like arrange your portfolio in such a way that your projects and everything you've done in the past successfully is there, it will be easy for you to tell people what you've done and how you did it. And you can also be sure that with what you have, you've put everything you can do on the table, and it's up to them to decide if what you have to offer is good enough. And remind yourself that the projects you've done or the things you're able to do at this point, there's someone out there who would be a right fit for you. So I think the emphasis is on um, showing working, and try to document your journey, because that would also help you to grow. I think another important way to help with imposter syndrome is to surround yourself with people who are on the same journey with you. Because if you're with people, and I know, yes, it's counterintuitive in the sense that as someone suffering from imposter syndrome, you have the tendency to compare with other people. But what if, excuse me, what if you rely on the community you are part of, the tech community you're part of? What if you rely on the shoulders of people who are above you, on the same line with you, and most likely the people who are learning from you? If you put yourself in that place, if you put yourself in that position without being arrogant or just being yourself amidst the community of people, you realize that you wouldn't have an issue um, finding your place, more or less, because when you need help, there's someone to help you. When you need help, and that's the thing, community. To overcome imposter syndrome, in the past I had difficulties asking for help, and whenever I asked for help, it solved 80% of my problem. So the best way to get the help you need is by surrounding yourself with people in the same field with you. That's why you need a community, and that's why you need to surround yourself with let's say coding friends, UX UI friends, or people in the same field. Or if you want to have like a full picture kind of view, it's important to join a community of people who are diverse, and it's important. So now, if you don't have a community of people in the tech field, I have one for you to join. Highly recommendable, and who knows, it could help you, because we'll constantly talk about different issues that affect tech professionals in whatever field. This could be your place to interact with people and join other people. And the community is Guru Coding Academy's community. And this is what our members so far have to say. I got really comfortable with programming when I joined GCA. I have people to grow with, Amanda, and GCA made my tech journey bearable. So, as I said, one way to fix imposter syndrome is by joining the tech community, and that's what we have today. The Guru Coding Academy community. It's on Slack. All our interaction is on Slack, so you'll be interacting with everybody on Slack. We usually have hackathons, um, group conversations, peer programming, and so many things that involve tech professionals. And you could join us too. So if you're looking for a support group, make Guru Coding Academy your community, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share, like this video, and in the description box you would see every information you need to know about the Coding Academy and uh, about what we have to offer. So now, tell me in the comment section how you approach imposter syndrome, and what will you be doing differently to make sure you don't get caught up with feeling like an outsider, and to do better to represent yourself in this space. That's all for now. Bye.